All right, let's be honest. Have you ever stared at a trading chart and just felt completely lost? Like you're just guessing? Well, you're not alone. I mean, the trading world is just packed with gurus, right? All of them promising some secret formula. But what if the real secret isn't a secret at all? What if it's just one powerful framework that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. I mean, does this quote hit home for you? You know the feeling, right? You're just drowning in a sea of indicators, constantly jumping from one holy grail system to the next, from ICT to Wyckoff, you name it. And what's the result? You just end up more confused than when you started. That's not a strategy. That's basically just playing roulette with your hard-earned money. So here's the big question. What if there's a way to cut through all that noise? What if all the super complicated systems out there are, well, what if they're just different dialects of the same exact language? What if there's one single idea, one framework that can bring some serious order to all this chaos? A kind of meta concept that everything else is built on top of. So yeah, let's just call it what it is. The trader's state of confusion. Because for most people, trading feels a whole lot like gambling in disguise. Look, this is a super common place to start, but it's not where you want to end up. So the real question is, why does this happen? And more importantly, how do we finally break free from it? And this is what that chaos actually looks like. You're chasing that one holy grail system. Spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. You're relying on gurus and their signals instead of, actually building your own skill. You don't have clear, repeatable rules. And maybe the scariest part, you're missing a protective risk framework. You're out there all alone, just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Okay, so what's the solution to all this? How do we find that one framework to rule them all? Well, it's not some new flashy setup. It's a foundational, back-to-basics concept called market structure. You can think of it as the meta concept of trading. It's the underlying logic, the operating system that everything else runs on. It doesn't matter what system you use, it has to obey the laws of market structure. And this whole framework, it really just boils down to three simple, powerful pillars. First, market structure. This is just the raw skill of reading the chart, nothing more. Second, the D1 setup. This is about finding just one, high probability entry model that you can master. And third, and this is probably the most important of all, execution. I'm talking about the raw discipline to follow your rules, no matter what. You master these three things, you're on the path to consistency. And this brings us to the ultimate goal. The whole point of all of this is one word, alignment. That's it. It's about aligning your trades with the overall flow of the market. See, when you can execute your one setup in the right location, perfectly in sync with the bigger picture, that's when everything can change. It's literally the difference between trying to swim against a powerful current and just riding the wave. So, how do we actually do that? How do we find that alignment? Well, it all starts with pillar number 1, how to read the market. We're going to strip everything away, get back to the absolute basics, and really understand price action from the ground up. Okay, let's talk market structure. And seriously, don't overcomplicate this. At its core, it's just the simple flow of price creating a trend. So in an uptrend, what does that look like? Price makes a higher high, it pulls back to make a higher low, and then it pushes up to make another new higher high. That's really it. It's the basic rhythm of a trending market. Now, check this out. When the price pushes up and breaks above that previous high, we have a name for that. We call it a break of structure. And this isn't just some random line on a chart. This is the market giving you a huge clue. It's basically shouting, hey, the buyers are still in control here. This uptrend is still on. And that break of structure creates something super important, the protected low. What is it? It's simply the last higher low that was responsible for pushing the price to that new higher high. Think of it like a line in the sand. As long as the price stays above that level, the uptrend is safe. But if that low breaks, that is a major red flag. It's the first real sign that the trend could be shifting. Okay, and here's where things get really cool. The market is fractal. What does that mean? It means the same exact patterns, these higher highs and higher lows, they're happening on every time frame. The pattern you see on a weekly chart is the same one happening on a 5-minute chart. This creates what we call structure within structure, little trends moving inside the bigger primary trend. And understanding this is the key to finding our perfect entry. All right, so now we know how to read the market's overall direction. So let's move on to pillar number 2, the high probability setup. This is where we identify our specific entry trigger, the sweep trigger entry. And remember, the goal here isn't to chase every little move. It's about waiting patiently for one specific, clear pattern to show up. So let's walk through this sequence because it's a classic trap that catches so many traders. First, you get a breakout. Price breaks a high, and all the eager retail buyers pile in. Step 2, they all place their stop losses right below. Then, step 3, liquidation. The price suddenly reverses, not because the trend is over, but to specifically take out all those stops. But here's the key, step 4, price taps the move origin, the real starting point of the move. And then, and only then, does it reverse for good and the real trend continues. So you're probably asking, what exactly is this move origin? It's simple. It's the point where the trend really started. It's where the big money likely got involved. So for an uptrend, it's that last little move down right before the price took off and went higher. This little zone is like a magnet for price, and it's probably one of the most high probability spots on the entire chart to look for a trade. And this, right here, is where your true edge is. It's not some fancy indicator, it's your patience. See, most traders get faked out. They jump in on that first breakout and then get stopped out during the liquidation phase. But the disciplined trader, they just wait. They wait for the price to come all the way back down to that key location, that move origin, before they even think about clicking a button. Okay, so we have our framework for reading the market, and we have our high probability setup. But I gotta be honest with you, none of that means anything without this final critical piece. Because your true trading edge isn't about the system, it's all about the execution. Just look at these two mindsets. It's two completely different paths. On the one hand, you've got the path of chaos. This is where you're chasing every single move, you're constantly fighting the trend, you're getting caught in all those manipulation traps, and you're blaming the market when things go wrong. But on the other side, you have the path of structure. This is where you wait for your key locations, you align with the big picture, you trade with the big money, and you just follow your rules. It's a choice. And that really brings us to the core message here. You don't need 50 indicators. You don't need 20 different setups. You need one. Just one single framework that you master, that you know inside and out. The goal isn't to collect a bunch of strategies. The goal is mastery. Simplicity and focus, that's your superpower. So let's wrap this all up with the single most important takeaway. Your real edge, it is not a secret setup. Anybody can learn a pattern. Your real unshakable edge is the discipline to wait for your setup to show up in a location that is perfectly aligned with the overall market structure. That's the magic formula. Discipline plus location plus alignment. And I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Please do not just take my word for any of this. The only way you're going to build real, unshakable confidence is to go prove it to yourself. So be your own guru. Open up your charts, go backtest this stuff, and see it with your own eyes. Prove it works for you, and then you can build an edge that is 100% yours.